a New York City police officer shot and killed a 69-year-old man who wielded a machete inside a South Bronx apartment on Tuesday morning after officers burst inside searching for drugs and a firearm, the police said. Another man, in his 90s, who was inside the apartment, at 230 Brook Avenue in Mott Haven, was not injured, the police said. A friend said the man had thought the officers were robbers when they broke down the door, so he stayed in bed, fearful of being hurt. He thought it was a robbery, said the friend, Ronald Perez. He said he would have gotten up if he knew it was police. The dead man was identified by the police as Mario Sanabria. The shooting, which unfolded at about 4:10 a.m. inside the third-floor apartment, was the third time in recent weeks that city police officers opened fire on people wielding knives inside the close quarters of residential spaces. The police department has been expanding its efforts to train officers to de-escalate encounters with civilians who are not armed with a gun and to avoid deadly force when possible. On November 13, 2 uniformed officers from the 48th Precinct, also in the Bronx, shot and killed 67-year-old Cornell Lockhart in the lobby of a building that provides housing services to at-risk and formerly homeless New Yorkers. Mr. Lockhart, who was in declining health, refused orders to drop a steak knife after the police responded to 911 calls for help after Mr. Lockhart stabbed 2 female security guards. A month earlier, on October 22, a police officer in Manhattan shot and wounded Paris Cummings, 27, inside a narrow 6th-floor vestibule at 610 W. 143rd Street, after Mr. Cummings charged at 2 officers and refused orders to drop 2 knives. Those officers were responding to calls about a man attempting suicide and in need of help. Each of the 2 earlier episodes was captured on video by the body cameras the officers were outfitted with. Weeks afterward, the police department released portions of the footage of each of those encounters showing the final moments before the officers fired their weapons. In Tuesday's shooting, however, the police said none of the officers were equipped with the new recording devices, which are being used in about 20 of the department's 77 precincts and by about 1,200 officers in a force of 36,000. About 4 hours after the shooting, the police issued a photograph of the machete, with a 2-foot-long blade, which the police said Mr. Sanabria was wielding when he was shot. Terrence A. Monahan, the department's chief of patrol, said the events began when officers from the Emergency Service Unit arrived at the 4-story building, off East 138th Street, to execute a search warrant to seize a firearm and narcotics. The warrant to search the premises was based on information that a man in his 30s who lives there had a gun and drugs, the police said. Because a firearm was involved, the officers did not announce themselves until after they had forced their way into the apartment, the police said. It remained unclear, however, whether the police team was aware that 2 older men resided in the apartment, No. 11, or had made provisions for such a possibility.